Let's talk about politics a little bit. Greg, I know you played the Reason Rally in March of last year. The assembled luminaries, people who think reason is a good thing. Penn Jillette, Bill Maher, who we've both had on the show, great guys. Do you have any hope that reason is now starting to make some sort of comeback in politics, whatever your partisan affiliation?
Well, my cynical side says no, because there's still, half the country doesn't sound reasonable at all, and that's my cynical side. I believe that reason is probably something that obviously, if we want to give some background to that gathering in Washington, D.C., it was the first time that there was ever I think the first gathering ever on the National Mall where people came together to support a truly secular, would you call it a religion? I don't know.
I would not.
No, but it was a secular gathering. And I think part of what that body wanted to achieve, or is still struggling to achieve, is to say that secular values should be based on reason, and hopefully there's a strong current of science as informing that worldview. And I think that's where I sort of fit into that strain. But if you ask me privately, this is hardly private, but I guess
semi-private, right?
I believe that.
Let's hope not.
I believe
it might end up being.
I believe there seems to be so many more factors that go into the sort of zeitgeist of our government. It's not simply based on religion or reason. And to draw that distinction is very difficult, not only in our society, I think in any society. And so there's a lot of symbolism involved in this. We want to believe that President Obama is a more reasonable president. That's why I voted for him. But I voted for him for other reasons too. There's other symbolism that drew me to vote for him as opposed to any of the other candidates. And so I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, but certainly, reason is a big one for me personally.
Well, and there's serious disagreement still, right, among friends of reason enthusiasts, secular people, about how powerful government should be and what government should be up to.
Yeah, let's just rope the conversation back in a little bit. You don't have to be an atheist to believe in evolution, And the fact of the matter is, in this country, there's an insane number of people who don't even believe in evolution. There's a huge percentage of the population who think the devil is real, and these people are voting blocs, and it's scary, and they're influencing policy, and you don't see that in any other modern nation, unless you consider Pakistan a modern nation, and so I think there is a glimmer of hope that Obama was reelected. He's a scholar. He's a smart guy, and he seems to have somewhat saner policies than his predecessor. Although I don't believe he goes far enough. I wish I could recall the name, but one of his appointees is a real sort of apologist for the creationist movement, and God, I can't remember his name right now. But the truth is that modern biology makes no sense except in the light of evolution, and Greg should really fairly be the guy talking about this.
That's all right.
And yet, for some reason in America, it's controversial whether we should teach evolution in our schools. And
in fact, it's hard to find evolution, a good section on evolution in most high school textbooks.
Right.
And that's something I care passionately about.
So if we're that backwards, how can we really compete in the world economy? If it's controversial to teach something that is widely accepted as true by the Pope,
reluctantly accepted as true.
Yeah, but widely accepted as true everywhere in the world, except amongst really sort of conservative, traditional religious folks. How can we expect to compete on the future economic stage where science and technology and reason, as you put it, let's put aside the notion of whether there's a God or not. It really has nothing to do with it. It's sort of for all it matters, when someone sends up a prayer, they could be praying to the initial boundary conditions of a deterministic universe. It doesn't effing matter, right? But let's teach math and science in our schools. Let's base policy and ethics on the universality of human reason. These are some of the themes of Bad Religion's music over the years. And there's a small glimmer of hope that it's getting better now, in the U.S., but it was a huge step backwards with Bush for two
terms.
Yeah, 2 terms of Bush with Karl Rove and them riling up the South with their traditional values and
Do you
reaction.
have any hope or expectation that the themes, those sorts of themes that you're addressing in the music, are going to reach or can reach an audience broader than people who are already sort of like, yeah, that's right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think, in fact, and that's something that's exciting to me, and maybe this brings it full circle when you started the conversation talking about our legacy. I believe that the arts are the most effective way of changing social norms. I think that you can reach people and influence people through comedy and theater and music and satire and fiction and poetry and painting much more profoundly and much more lastingly than you can by writing a book which is a polemic and kind of holding forth about and lecturing.
No offense to the PhDs around.
Well, but he does both.
Right.
Yeah.
The side of it I'm talking about is, I feel that Bad Religion, 33 years later, 33 years of crossbusters and T-shirts that say Bad Religion, have had some kind of an effect. As a matter of fact.
Just recently, yeah, the Supreme Court.
Just recently, the Supreme Court ruled that a kid can't get kicked out of school for wearing a Bad Religion T-shirt.
So there you go.
They actually used a case of a kid in Colorado who somehow there was a charitable group that got it heard by the Supreme Court, and they said you can't keep this kid out of school for.
And you guys aren't exactly up on stage in sort of white face paint, ripping up the Bible and.
No, but I will say.
Not at all, exactly. But you don't need.
In keeping with what Brett said, I do consider myself someone, as Brett does, who cares passionately about this and how to most effectively reach as large of an audience as we can. When we were young, we weren't that shy. We wanted to be famous, but we chose kind of the wrong field to do it in. Punk rock was, our biggest show for the first 10 years of our lives was maybe 500 people, or the first 10 years of the band. But the point is, we made a conscious decision that infusing our songs with these kinds of, to some people, erudite, but I'd say higher consciousness, kind of nerdy type topics, was a way of stimulating conversation outside of the music venue. And I mean, as I went on in my academic career, I did that in science and in lecturing and places like that. And it gives me just as big a thrill to hear about these kids who come up to us all the time and say, I'm studying biology now because of a song that you wrote, or I'm going to be a philosopher because of the song that you wrote.